Welcome to IELTS Teaching Tips Part 2. My name is Tony Clark.
And I am Meena Patel.
We've made these second series of videos in response to the earlier set of videos about IELTS teaching tips, which were very, very popular with teachers. Now, the idea of these is not to give you strict guidelines on how you should teach IELTS test preparation. It's more a starting point for you to adjust in a way that suits your own teaching context. The idea is that we help give you some ideas that will give your students everything they need, skills and knowledge to help with their IELTS preparation. Meena.
Excellent, thank you, Tony. Listening, what did I miss? I love teaching listening, and I love helping students with strategies with their listening. And with my students, we do lots of practice tests. But I think one of the most important things with this skill, others as well, but particularly this one, is to help students to self-evaluate so they can identify areas for improvement themselves, because listening is something that they can carry on doing outside the classroom. It doesn't have to be in the class with a CD player or a tape recorder. It's something that students can practice on the go. So the first thing to do with your students is to do a practice listening test, as you would do in any normal class. Individual activity, you play the recording, they do the test, and then you check the answers. Now, unless your students are perfect, and I hope they are, they'll have made some mistakes, they've got some wrong answers. At this point, what we're going to do is we're going to help our students to identify why they think they got those answers wrong. So help them at this point to create a table like the one I'm going to show you in just a minute. It should come up on a slide. So you can see a table with different topics along the top and different areas or possibly reasons why students might have made some mistakes. So did they, for example, did they get the answer wrong because they made a spelling mistake? Did they get the answer wrong because they missed out a word? Did they get the answer wrong because they lost their place in the recording? Did they get the answer wrong just because they didn't understand? What was the reason? I mean, the ones on the slide are just examples. You can obviously add your own. So then the students go through their answers and they tick why they think they got that wrong. And very soon they'll have a little visual of kind of areas that they need to focus on. And if you do it for every practice listening that the students do, you may begin to see a pattern, you know, a specific area that students focus on. So spelling and vocabulary may be, an area that they need to focus on. It could be that they're not following the recording as they should. They're still thinking about the first recording when actually they should be thinking about the third one at this point. So it's a really nice, easy visual way for students to identify areas of concern and therefore to prioritise their learning in those areas. So in the example that you're looking at on the slide, the student has, I think, made 4 or 5 spelling mistakes, and therefore for vocabulary to do with environment, they should focus on the spelling and more generally the vocabulary. Does that make sense, Tony?
Yeah, it does, definitely. I think it's a really good activity as well. It might be something that's quite unfamiliar to some students though, because they're not used to reflecting on their own mistakes. So one of the strengths about this activity is also one of the things you have to be a bit careful about. To get over that, I would say you just have to give them the chance to try it. And once they become a bit more familiar with it, they should also see the benefit of it. It's very important to help students understand why they're doing something like this.
Exactly. Well, perhaps then for the first time, that you could do it as a whole class.
Mm-hmm.
You need to have the table on a board or a whiteboard or on the screen, and you do it as a whole class. That would help them with the process.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think so. So they can actually visually see it happening. And also you can explain that this is something that will benefit them not just in class. It means they can help themselves outside of class as well.
Yeah.
Noticing their own mistakes. also, it's actually quite empowering to be able for students to notice their own errors. I find, especially in kind of more traditional teaching context, there's an expectation that the teacher's going to pick up on everything.
Yeah.
But that's not always beneficial. It's good if you can let the students know that. In the same way with peer correction, for example, it doesn't always have to come from the teacher.
Exactly. Yeah. No. I quite like this activity. And as Tony says, I think the key to it is to practice it a few times so that your students become familiar with the concept. And eventually, as they do more listening practice tests, they will become aware of what to think about as they're going through them, which will hopefully help them improve their scores as well.
I think it would help them improve their scores. And also that familiarity that comes with time can even be used within one course. Because if students expect that you're going to do that, you might apply it to another skill, for example.
Yes.
And also it helps the teacher. So as Mina said before, if certain patterns are emerging, a lot of students are struggling with this or that, you can kind of focus your lessons a bit more based on them.
As we're talking here, I'm just thinking, actually, this kind of tabular identification process lends itself quite nicely to writing as well, doesn't it? The kind of mistakes you might find in students' writing. Anyway, so we could go on forever, you and I. We hope you found this activity useful. We both obviously like it. We hope that it'll help you think about more interesting and more creative ideas that are relevant for your context based on this. If you'd like to know more teaching tips, then please visit the website. I think the URL will be on the screen now. It's lovely having you with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.